Hi, everybody. Good morning. Today we'll be completing week 4 with a short writing activity. We're going to be writing our own stand-up statement about something we personally would like to stand up for, something we would be an activist over. So we'll be reflecting on some of the things that we learned this week. We could further review some of the 2 texts that we read. Echoes, where a woman regrets not taking action, and Polite Society, an example of a woman who took action by posting on Facebook and encouraging others to also take action on something she felt passionate about. We could review our academic vocabulary words, the words activist and the word bystander. For our opening Do Now routine, we'll be reflecting on some of the things we discussed this week and some of the activities we completed. We'll look at a model of what we are going to create. Students will then use this model as a scaffold to write their own stand-up statement. Now, the words in bold are the words that students could replace to reflect their own personal experiences and their own personal topic about what they personally feel is important to stand up for. Finally, there's an additional model provided so students could see a sample and an example of how the scaffolding was used to create a new version of the stand-up statement. And finally, there's a format for a final draft where students could insert a picture, a caption, and then they could paste their text to create their own. So as you could see on the student handout, there's a number of ways this could be modified depending on students' ability level. There's a model clearly indicating the bolded portions that have to be replaced. There's underlines to fill in the blanks for students to use as a writing template. And then finally, there's an opportunity here for a final draft where students could create their final draft by moving their writing into this box on the right and then adding an image and a description of that image in this box on the left. So there's a number of ways this could be modified. More advanced students may not need this amount of scaffolding, but beginning ENL students may greatly benefit from this format. Depending on the student's ability level, it may even be necessary to shorten this even further. So at this time, let's jump into today's lesson. Can somebody please read today's essential question? Good. How do we stand up for ourselves and for others? Today we're going to really be diving into a way that we personally could stand up for others and what we personally are going to do to stand up for others. Can somebody please read today's 3 lesson objectives? Good. To demonstrate independence, selecting and applying words and phrases to aid expression. Good. Students are going to practice their writing today. To examine and convey complex ideas and information clearly and accurately in writing. And finally, to develop personal, cultural, and thematic connections to texts and big ideas. At this time, teachers could review some of the additional objectives that have been completed during the week. For this opening Do Now, we're going to activate students' prior knowledge by asking them, what do you see? What do you remember? What do you wonder? So at this time, you could point out this image that had been repeated in 2 other opening Do Now warm-ups this week. The question from yesterday's lesson, from the day 4 lesson, about who you would like to stand up for, who the students themselves believe should stand up for, a group that needs somebody to stand up for them. And finally, a time in their past where they did not take action or speak up, similar to the woman the narrator of the poem Echoes, who regretted not speaking up. At this time, you can pause this video and give students a chance to respond to these questions regarding the images. Students may say, in the image, I see protesters. We may encourage students to continue using some of the new vocabulary that they have practiced over this week. Students may say, I remember that. We talked about standing up for others in class. And finally, students may say, one thing I wonder is if there is ever a bad time to be an activist. Is it ever wrong to be an activist? And that could raise some interesting discussions as well. So this week, students are going to write a stand-up statement. They're going to write their own short response in which they ask their classmates to take a stand with them. Look at the model below to see what one student chose to write about. Now, you could see here on the right is the student's writing, and on the left is an image of what they want to stand up for. Now, we could look here as a scaffold. The scaffolding helps students see which portions of the text could be replaced to refer to themselves personally. So let's take a look. Hello, students of... Now, this student attended MS 68. This could be replaced by their student's own school. My name is Gladys, which could be replaced by your own name. And I want you to join me in standing up against racism. Again, students can choose what they want to stand up against. Is it racism? Is it bullying? Is it maybe something related to the environment that they feel passionate about? Taking this action is important because all people should be treated fairly regardless of their background or how they look. Standing up requires taking action. 2 ways that I will stand up against racism, and then students are going to come up with 2 actions that they're going to take to stand up against what they believe is unjust or wrong. This student says, first, by speaking directly to a person if I hear them say something racist, even if it is said as a joke. Secondly, I will also try to sit at a lunch table with people of different backgrounds than myself. Taking action may be challenging at first, but it will make our community stronger. Now, let's look at one more example. Now, this is another example using that same scaffolding, but instead of standing up against racism, this individual is standing up against bullying. Hello, students of BFIT. My name is Mr. Braun, and I want you to join me in standing up against bullying. Taking this action is important because bullying has become a big problem in our school. And at this time, I see this individual added some additional explanation. More advanced writers can add to the basic format by adding some additional details, additional explanation. Now, this individual wrote, it is affecting many students, it makes students feel bad, and can have lasting consequences. They continued, standing up requires taking action. 2 ways that I will stand up against bullying is first by, number 1, they're going to create an awareness campaign to encourage others to join me. Secondly, I will also promise to stand up to bullying every time I see it. And then they added some more. I will also give advice to other students to stand up for themselves and to let someone know what is going on. Finally, they add the same concluding statement. Taking action may be challenging at first, but it will make our community stronger. And as you can see on the left, there's an image, all different types of bullying, and a big no sign going through it. No cyberbullying, no teasing, no rumors, insults, name-calling, harassment, mean words, etc. The caption says there are many types of bullying. It is important to stand up against all of them. Right? And finally, there's a final template for students to use to develop their final draft of their writing. So once again, it's all provided on their student handout. They could use the extending the learning activity from yesterday's lesson to help them begin to get started on today's short writing activity. The model is included with the words in bold that need to be replaced, as well as a writing template for students to complete. And then there's a final draft template for students to use once they have completed their writing. And it has been checked by either a peer or a teacher. It is possible to help students further improve their writing and to make suggestions for further ways of improvement as students continue to develop their writing skills. So at this time, you could once again review this model with your students and begin to encourage them to start using the scaffolding to create their own stand-up statement. So I hope you will enjoy this lesson, and I hope this lesson raises some interesting discussions about topics that are important and issues that your students believe are important to stand up for. Enjoy today's lesson.